A bench player went for 43 in a playoff game, the most by any reserve since Fred Brown in 1976. 50 years. 13 of 17 from the field, 5 of 5 from 3, 12 of 12 from the foul line, 40 points, 75% shooting, 5 threes without a miss, 10 free throws without a miss. That stat line has never happened in the NBA. Not by Jordan, not by Kobe, not by Curry, not in 78 seasons. A fourth-year reserve did it on the night his two leading scorers walked off injured. The story is not the player. The story is the chalkboard that found him. Let's start with what Minnesota lost. April 25th, Game 4 of the Western Conference first round, Target Center, Minneapolis. The Wolves up 2-1. Anthony Edwards walks off inside the first quarter. Edwards DiVincenzo follows inside the second, both gone before the 18-minute mark of game time. Edwards and DiVincenzo combined for roughly 53% of Minnesota's offensive possessions during the regular season. 53% of the offense walked off the floor before halftime. Minnesota trailed by as many as 9 in the first half. Now here is the question every coach has to answer in that moment. Do you replace the body or do you redesign the offense? Replacing the body is the conventional move. Slide the next best wing into the Edwards spot, run the same actions, hope the lower watt finisher converts. That is how teams lose Game 4 by 12 and the series in 5. Chris Finch did not do that. The film shows a timeout sequence late in the second quarter where Minnesota's action menu visibly changes. The Edwards center drag screens disappear. Wide pin downs into Ayo Dosunmu pull-ups appear. The horn sets get reorganized. The screener flips to Dosunmu, not the original ball handler. The redistribution happened in roughly 90 seconds of dead ball time. 1 timeout, 1 whiteboard, 3 new action calls. Final score, Minnesota 112, Denver 96. The Wolves win by 16 after trailing by 9. 53% of Minnesota's offense walked off the floor before halftime. Most coaches would have substituted bodies. Finch substituted actions. 90 seconds of dead ball coaching, 3 new calls on the whiteboard. The Wolves came out of that timeout running an offense that did not exist in the scouting report Denver had been studying for 6 months. Now what Dosunmu did with the new chalkboard. 43 points, 42 minutes off the bench. 13 of 17 from the field, 76.5%. 5 of 5 from 3, 12 of 12 from the foul line. His career high before this game was 35. Pull-up gravity is a measurable thing. It is the radius around a ball handler at which defenders must close out hard or surrender a make. Dosunmu's gravity that night was 26 feet. He hit 5 threes without a miss. The closeouts were already losing. The 5 of 5 from 3 is the structural number. 5 of 5 does not happen against a defense that knows what is coming. Denver's defense was not reading Dosunmu's tendencies. It was reading Edwards's. The scouting report Denver had memorized for 6 months was structurally obsolete after the timeout. The 12 of 12 at the line is the secondary number. Free throws are only attempted when you get to the rim. Dosunmu got to the rim 12 times because the threat of his pull-up forced over closeouts. Drive lanes opened. Denver's scheme could not protect both layers. The 13 of 17 is the math. 76.5% from the field on volume in a playoff game against a defense built around Nikola Jokic and Aaron Gordon. That is statistically not a hot night. That is the signature of a defense that has not yet seen the offense it is defending. The hero action looked like this, a wide pin down on the right wing. Rudy Gobert sets the screen for Dosunmu rising from the corner. Dosunmu curls off the screen and catches at the right elbow. Pull up. 5 attempts, 5 makes. That action did not exist in Minnesota's playbook before halftime. 43 points, 13 of 17, 5 of 5, 12 of 12, the only stat line of its kind in NBA history. The Denver scouting report had no answer because the offense it was supposed to defend got rebuilt during a timeout. Now the historical anchor and the work it does. The last reserve to score 43 or more in a playoff game was Fred Brown of the Seattle Supersonics. April 23, 1976, he scored 45. 50 years But the comparison only goes so far before it breaks down. Brown's 45 came in an era of slower-paced, lower efficiency basketball. League pace was higher, league efficiency was lower. Defenses did not switch. There was no three-point line for the first 3 years of his career. Brown's line that night was 0 of 1 from beyond the arc, 5 of 7 from the foul line. Dosunmu's came in a league with switch-everything defenses, modern analytics-driven shot charts, full-game film prep on every reserve. The 5 threes without a miss is the modern anomaly. Brown took 1 3 the night he scored 45. Dosunmu took 5 and made all 5. The 12 of 12 at the line is the second anomaly. Brown shot 5 attempts, Dosunmu shot 12. Now the harder fact, a stat line of 40-plus points on 75+% from the field with 5 made threes and no miss and 10 made free throws and no miss in one game, that has happened 0 times in the history of the NBA. Not in 78 seasons, not in regular season, not in playoffs, not by Jordan, not by Kobe, not by Curry, not by anyone. The probability of 3 perfect or near-perfect lines occurring in the same game by a fourth-year bench player is vanishing. 50 years since a reserve put up 43 in a playoff game, 78 NBA seasons without a 40-point, 75%, 5 of 5, 12 of 12 line. The numbers are not just rare, they are unprecedented. And they were generated by an offense that did not exist before halftime. So here is the question the data is forcing. Was that a player having the night of his life, or was that a chalkboard performing the night of its life? The honest steelman, and we have to take it seriously, sounds like this. Dosunmu got hot. 5 of 5 from 3 is variance. 12 of 12 from the line is what happens when a defense is exhausted in transition. Denver lost 2 starters worth of attention themselves. Jokic was managing minutes. Gordon was on his 3rd defensive assignment. The 43 is real, but it is not a scheme story. It is one player having the night of his life against a team that mentally checked out at 3 games to 1. That is the book Denver's coaching staff will sell their locker room before Game 5. On its own terms, it is reasonable. The problem is that variance does not produce 5 of 5 from 3 on pull-up attempts. Pull-up threes in the playoffs convert at roughly 35% league-wide. 5 of 5 at that conversion rate is a sub-1% event by chance. Not impossible, but the stat line is not just the threes, it is the threes and the field goal percentage and the foul line. In the same game, by a bench player who had never scored 36. The joint probability of a coincidence on this scale is not measurable in single-game variance. Denver was not exhausted. Denver was unprepared. The action menu had changed at halftime. Their rotations were rotating to spots Edwards used to occupy. Dosunmu was occupying different spots. The defense was correct about the player it was defending and wrong about the offense it was defending against. That is a chalkboard outcome, not a fatigue outcome. So here is the verdict. 2 minutes of Chris Finch on a whiteboard rebuilt an offense that produced a stat line nobody in 78 years has produced. 43 points on 17 shots, 0 misses outside the rim. The chalkboard found the player Denver had not scouted, then put him in spots Denver had not rehearsed defending. That is the entire game. That is the entire series. The chalkboard is the story. Dosunmu is the signature. There were 3 new actions on the whiteboard. Action 1, the wide pin down into the pull-up. Dosunmu curls off Gobert from the corner to the elbow. 5 attempts, 5 makes. Action 2, the horns flip with Dosunmu as ball handler. The screener inverts. Dosunmu attacks downhill where Edwards used to. The drive opportunities created the 12 foul line trips. Action 3, the double drag with shooter lift. The original double drag that used to free Edwards now repurposed to free Dosunmu rising into the second screen. Pull-up gravity dictates closeout angles. The closeout angles dictated the night. 3 actions, 90 seconds, the cleanest scoring line in the history of professional basketball. Game 5 is in Denver. The Nuggets get 48 hours to rebuild a defense around an offense they saw for the first time on Saturday night. Minnesota gets 48 hours to keep the action menu hidden. We will see whose chalkboard moves faster, the one with a series to save or the one with a closeout to land. Next episode of Chalk Tactics, we go inside the most efficient counter coverage in playoff basketball and ask what a defensive coordinator can actually install in 2 days. Until then,